Welcome to We Are City of Five Nations podcast, and today we are amidst our series Police Positive, Fulfilling Your Dream. Become a police officer. In the City of Five Nations, there are currently openings for police officers, and we wanted to introduce you to some on our police force because so often police are dehumanized just through the news and what we see on the square on our wall. And it's just so wonderful anytime that I'm able to stop and talk to one of the men in blue, whether they're in uniform or they're not, usually smiles and handshakes and just really good folks down at our police department. And I definitely wanted to get to know a few of them even better. And I'd like to ask Major Rod Taylor to join me now. As Rod, always in your car, man. You're always in the move.
Just for you, Daniel. Sorry.
Well, man, this was really your idea when you were like, hey, man, how could we maybe encourage more local residents to apply for the police force? We get a lot of great candidates, but there's just so much opportunity at our police department. Can you talk a little bit about your heart for the recruits for our Shawnee Police Department?
Talk a little bit about the heart for the new recruits.
Your heart for recruiting great candidates for our police department.
Yeah. That comes really from my experience and total enjoyment of my career. And I kind of just want to share that with those who haven't really thought about it or maybe on the fence about it. And I was probably 27 before I entered law enforcement. And I really envy those who are able to come in at an earlier age. And I just wasn't there yet, but it's just so much fun. And looking back on now, and the whole time that I've been working as an officer in Shawnee, I just can't imagine having done anything else. It's just so much fun.
Well, you've always been a familiar face to me. Our daughters growing up a little bit together, and just to have somebody as solid and as balanced as you always have been around me whenever we've been doing different things. What a wonderful gift I think you are, Rod, to our community. As is the next one that I'm going to bring on is the lovely Chrissy Brown. Chrissy hangs out down at Dispatch. She's our director in the City of Five Nations of Dispatch. And Chrissy, you guys have won awards under your leadership for being one of the best dispatch, if not the best, dispatch room in our entire state. Talk a little bit about your responsibilities with dispatch.
Right now, I handle a lot of the maintenance with our equipment, our 911, and training, staffing, our scheduling. There's a lot that goes into our training. We like to mirror the patrol division just because it makes sense that everything's constantly evolving with 911. The technology is always changing, so it only makes sense that we're staying current with the trends and technology. And, you know, one of the things the state is promoting right now, Oklahoma doesn't have any standards for training for 911 dispatchers in Oklahoma. There are for law enforcement officers, firefighters, and paramedics, but nothing for 911 telecommunicators in the state. So right now we're actually ahead of the curve. As the state implements these training standards, we already have what they're already requiring. So, you know, our goal is we want to be able to provide great services for the citizens and for the responders, because we know what we do, what we say on the radio can significantly impact the people on the other end of the phone or radio.
And talking about being on the other end of the phone, the reason that we want, and not only do we love talking with Chrissy, but we want you and the dispatch involved with what we're doing here, is because you are that central link between the people who are in trouble and those who are on their way to hopefully give help during that time of trouble. And today we have Officer or Corporal Rich Ryder to join us. And as we bring Rich on, Rich, tell us a little bit about your journey to become a police officer.
Okay. It was kind of a long one. I wanted to
Good,
be in law
good.
enforcement when I was a little bit younger, and tried out for a few other departments, didn't work out, and then had a pretty traumatic issue with my family. We're victims of a very violent crime, and the way that the law enforcement basically handled that is what got me, I guess, relit the fire, wanted me to get back into it. And so I threw in a reserve application actually with Shawnee to become a reserve. And during that application process, I got hired on as a reserve. And then during the academy, they opened it up for full time. And so I put in an application for full time and was lucky enough to get one of those positions and haven't looked back since. I absolutely love it.
Man, that's interesting. You know, Rod, becoming a police officer must not be an easy thing to do, because over and over and over I hear of people who have had to apply multiple times. Talk a little bit about the process and why that happens.
Yeah, I think Rich may have been our shortest reserve officer of all time. He probably has the record there. Coming in as a reserve and in the academy going full time. It's all about timing with law enforcement jobs. So he was very fortunate to have that opportunity to go full time. Some officers have to try several times. If you're competing only for a few spots and there are a bunch of people competing against you, obviously you have to shine pretty bright and to get that position. So it is competitive, and timing has a lot to do with it. It really just depends on how many applicants we're receiving at that particular phase, at that particular hiring process. So, but we encourage you to continue to apply. It may take 3, 4, 5 times, and I've known officers and certainly here and other agencies that kept at it, and it took longer for them. So if you're determined, you can definitely do it.
Well, that's what dreams are made of. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we say fulfill your dream, is dreams are not easy to come by. And Chrissy, you've worked with Rich now over 4 years or so. Do you have maybe a question for Rich or a story you could tell us about Rich?
You know, I was hoping Rich was going to be on here. Rich and I have a great working relationship. I know I touched a little bit on yesterday. You know, you'll hear things come across the radio, and probably day to day talking to Rich, there's some of the things that he's said across the radio, and I'm like, that Rich. And he's probably said the same thing about me. But he and I have a great working relationship. We can talk about it or just act like it didn't happen and we can move forward. But one of the things I appreciate about Rich is he will actually try to find a solution to things. We'll talk, you know, hey, why did you do this? And, you know, he'll understand, or he accepts why things have to happen on our end a certain way. He may not still like it, but he'll continue on. I do have a question for you about dispatch. What has been one of the times that we have been able to help you and you've thought, you know, after the fact, oh, thank goodness dispatch was there to help me?
Pretty much every day. I mean, there's
Good answer.
you guys, you know, you walk us through. I mean, there's a lot of times that we ask, there'll be 4 or 5 officers on scene, and 4 or 5 of those officers are going to repeat the same question to you guys. But if you guys aren't there, we don't get the answers we need. And so we couldn't make it through that call. So, I mean, literally almost every call that we go on, we have to have you guys. I know it's not like the perfect answer you're looking for, but I mean, I'm serious. So.
Well, Rich, I mentioned toys earlier because you're one of the few that get to ride an electronic motorcycle. And I mean, we may be getting some gas motorcycles, and you possibly could get one of those as well. But talk a little bit about that. Was that new for the state, first of all? Were we one of the first communities our sizes to get one that that type of cycle in the state, and also maybe share some experiences that may be interesting to our viewers from being on that electric motorcycle.
So we weren't the first. I think Ada was one of the first ones to get it, but we were one of the first ones to actually utilize the bike on almost a daily occurrence. We still had to go through and do the typical police motorcycle training, which is 2 weeks, and that is the hardest training I've ever been through in my life. You have a 900-pound Harley, and you make that motorcycle do stuff that you don't think is physically possible. A lot of times you feel like you're defying the laws of, gravity or physics and stuff like that. And it's 2 weeks long. And so going through 2 weeks of every day being on a motorcycle that has an engine, has a clutch, has a throttle, and then transitioning from that over to a motorcycle that you can't even hear it run, has no clutch. You don't shift gears. You just turn the throttle and you go. But that little bike was, it's really neat. It's a lot of fun. You can, like, running traffic with that, you can hide in places and get in intersections, hide behind bushes where a car would never be. And I know the citizens probably don't really like that, but the ones who are obeying the law, I'm sure they appreciate us hiding in spots where we can catch those guys that are doing 70 miles an hour down 45th, which is something that happens all the time. But when we're utilizing that motorcycle, it puts a huge decrease in the amount of traffic that goes through there. On a motorcycle versus on a car, you can do a traffic stop within a few minutes versus where in a car, it's going to take you 5-7 minutes, something like that. So the motorcycle, you can just go back to back to back, as quick as you can physically do it yourself. They're great tools to utilize for school zones, which hopefully when we get the regular ones that we have up at the dealership and school starts back up, we'll be able to utilize those in some of the school zones where we can't actually get a car, like in front of the middle school. It's almost impossible to use a car up there for traffic stops during school zone hours, whereas a motorcycle, you can just sit on the side of the road and you can use your radar or LiDAR and check every car that's going by. So they're a huge benefit to the city, to me, because I'm one of the ones that gets to be on it, and it's a lot of fun. Real quick, talking about benefits, I didn't ask the Major if I could show these because I just got them in the mail. I'm a big fan of Crocs. I don't know if you guys are. They're awesome. So Crocs is doing a promotion right now where first responders and medical field people get a free pair of Crocs. So I submitted my stuff. It took like 3 weeks for me to get it submitted. But this is what they sent. I was really hoping for like a regular pair of white and blue. This is what I got.
Those will look good in the parade.
Oh, they will. I won't. Don't get me wrong, but that is definitely not what I expected to see. So
I think those go great up against the white of the little motorcycle. I mean, those standing on the feet of the.
Oh yeah, it definitely.
So Rod, with that, Corporal Ryder, you have a story or a question for the corporal that you could share with us, share with our audience?
I have numerous questions, and he has so much experience, and I think he had motorcycle experience before he became a police officer. And if you can share some of that with us, and maybe some of your experiences while riding the motorcycle, and because you've had different assignments to really be proactive on that motorcycle since you and another officer have been riding it, and maybe share some of those stories.
Okay. I started on a little Honda 50 when I was 4. It was a birthday present or Christmas present, I don't remember. My mom wasn't too thrilled about it. It was kind of pushed on more so by my dad. and I've been on a bike ever since. Got my motorcycle license when I was 14. Then I kind of graduated up when I was about 17, 18, got a crotch rocket. Thought I was one of those cool young guys, did a lot of dumb stuff, ended up in the hospital, still got some road rash to show it. But going through that and being on a bike the whole time, it gives you a different perspective of traffic, because it's not really the guy on the motorcycle you have to worry about. It's all the other people that are driving down the road, texting, listening to the radio, not paying attention, or maybe they just had a bad day at work and they're just zoned out and going down Kickapoo that's now 35 and they're doing 55, 60 miles an hour because there's only 3 other cars on the road. And so it just changes your perspective when you're the guy that's on the motorcycle, whether you're riding as a civilian or as law enforcement. But some of the cool stuff that we've got to do with the electric bike, or just the bikes in general, every year we have our Christmas parade. We get to lead the parade, get very, very active and very involved with the kids, which is one of my favorite parts of this job is the little kids. I went to North Rock Creek and done a few presentations on distracted driving, texting and driving, stuff like that. We've had a few 5Ks and bicycle things that the bike shop that's downtown put on, and we've got to lead those and block intersections for them and stuff like that. And it opens up what the police department is able to do for the citizens, gives us different opportunities to get involved with different people. Because I met people doing I think they call it like a Santa Claus run or something like that with the Spoklahoma. And I got to meet people for that I would have most likely never encountered just on regular daily patrol. And it gives you different avenues to meet new people, and which again is one of the greatest things about this job is you meet someone new every day, all the time.
Yeah, Craig McIntyre with Spoklahoma does a great job. They do that bicycle for Santa just before the Christmas tree lighting ceremony. And then they have one of the best bicycle gatherings in the state, the Gravel Growler, which happens the first Saturday in February. And those guys are riding like 85 miles on the first Saturday in February. Wow. And we thought you were crazy, Corporal Ryder. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, mine has no manual labor. I just twist the throttle. I don't have to pedal.
Well, more and more, and Chrissy knows this. Chrissy's husband is an avid rider. He's down at Spoklahoma a lot, I know. And Chrissy, in the dispatch room, I'm sure when Corporal Ryder's out there on the motorcycle, you've got to make a decision sometimes whether or not that goes to the motorcycle officer or somebody else is going to have to handle it. Can you maybe share a story with us or ask Corporal Ryder about a time in which you were kind of sketchy as to whether or not the motorcycle should receive this call or not?
When they're out on the motorcycle, they usually the role's a little reversed. They'll tell us what they're doing versus what we're used to on a day. The officers
just like bikers.
Yeah.
Just like bikers. We'll tell you.
The officers and then we will prioritize and dispatch them calls, based on their location or where they're supposed to be for the day. And then if they're not available, we'll send the next unit. In Rich's case, when they're on their motorcycle, we're probably more patient with the guys that are on the motorcycle, and we try to be more aware of their surroundings and their location because we know that that's a dangerous assignment. So they're typically telling us what they're doing. If we can't get them on the radio, then we send everybody to them, whether they want it or not. But we want to make sure that they're safe. And I know that Rich really enjoys his motorcycle. I do. And he's been very patient with us on the motorcycle. I do have a question as far as that goes. Do you prefer to work in the cooler months, or do you like to work on the motorcycle in the warmer months, and why?
I personally don't like clear sunny days.
Oh.
I'm like a doom and gloom type of person. Like today, how it's overcast, it would be perfect to be on the motorcycle. Once it gets above 80 degrees, 85, then no, I don't like it a whole lot. But as long as you're not just sitting still, it's not that bad, because with the outer carrier that we wear, whenever you're riding down the road, all that wind just goes right up underneath your vest, and it's by no means is it an air conditioner, but it feels really good when you're hot and sweaty and all that air is just flowing in between your vest and your shirt. Makes a big difference. So sometimes instead of just sitting there running traffic, we may just get out and go for a joyride, because there are a lot of beautiful parts of town that I never seen until I got on that motorcycle. There's all kinds of trails and all kinds of different things throughout town that I would have never seen had I not got on a motorcycle. And so sometimes you just hop on there and just driving down the road, drive down Highland or something, and see a little cutout in the woods. And with the little electric bike, it's more of like an enduro. You just put back there and go drive around and take you a little break, turn around, go back, run some traffic. But to answer your question, I like the cooler months. It's a little bit of a rabbit there, but cooler months.
But Rich, that was beautiful, man, because I mean, when I saw that motorbike for the first time and I even heard that it was coming, I remembered my brother when he was 16 and he got like one of those first mopeds back in the late 70s or something. And just how much fun it wasn't an enduro, but he turned it into an enduro. Just loved having that bike. And I think of you guys like that. And that brings me to a question for you, Major. In the sense of, we talk about recruits and we talk about going through the application process, and it's not easy. You've done a good job with someone like Corporal Ryder, matching him with something that he's passionate about. It's obvious that he loves to do what you matched him with. Do you find that to be the case amongst a lot of the officers, that you're able to kind of figure out where their place is and where they can apply their passion?
Yeah, and it doesn't take much on our part, I can tell you that. We put the information out to them, and they submit their request to be on that specialized team, whether it be SWAT, motors, bicycles, whatever the case is, and they prove themselves through the application process of being the best qualified candidate. So in Rich's case, his experience and desire to really be part of that program proved himself. So I'm the one that constantly says, and I can remember saying to Rich all the time, please be careful on that thing. And he'd just look at me and grin and laugh and say, and then he'd speed off. And I feel like a nervous parent every time he gets on that thing. But I know it's a very viable tool, and I'm happy to see it utilized.
Well, you're breaking up a little bit, but it's funny that you are, because you looked like a parent when you were talking about Rich and the other officers being able to choose. But Chrissy, we know that a part of being a parent is figuring out where your kids, what they're best at, what they enjoy, how they can accelerate through life. And what's that like, working with somebody like the administration that you have in the higher offices of the police department? Do they make your job easier in dispatch?
Yes, they do. One of the things that I appreciate most about the administration is that before, things were a little different, and there could be 5 dispatchers.
Chrissy, let me interrupt you just for a second. I want you to back out and come back, because I'm not giving you a fair shake. You're kind of in the same boat as Rod. I don't know what happened down there at the at the main office, but I'm going to talk with Rich just for a second. So come right back, please. Rich, when you've seen some of the most beautiful spaces that you wouldn't have seen had you not been on the bike. And I certainly can relate to that. I don't like to get on a bike and go, I'm going to ride 35 miles, but I love to get on the bike and go, I'm going to ride down to the office and then see what happens and then maybe ride somewhere else. And I'm with you, but describe some places that perhaps we wouldn't know exist in our town that you just think are so beautiful that maybe we could notice the next time we drive by or we get out of our car and are on a walk?
So on 45th between Kickapoo and Harrison, pretty close to the Northside Veterinary Clinic on the north side. I don't know what used to be back there. I have no clue, but there's those big concrete blocks that are up there. So one day I got on the motorcycle and I was just driving around and I figured I'd go back there and see what was back there. And I think I went probably 100, 150 yards, something like that. And it got to this big opening and there's a pond just out in the middle of nowhere. Had no idea, didn't know anything about it. And so I got off the motorcycle and just walked around, and smack dab, literally in like one of the most busy parts of town, 45th, Kickapoo, Harrison, just right in that area. It was so peaceful. You just sit there by that little pond, and it's a decent sized pond. I don't know if there's any fish in it. Didn't really look like it. But there's trees surrounding you and a big old pond. Like, it was one of the coolest places that I've seen back there in quite a while. Then down by Independence and Brangus, there's a few places down through there that you can kind of cut through some of the trails and some woods back there.
Okay, can you hear me, Daniel? Okay.
Yeah, you're interrupting Rich, Major. We're talking
Sorry.
about beauty here on the screen.
I can't hear Rich. I'm sorry.
Well, I'll just tell you what you need to know, Rod. How about that?
Okay.
Chrissy, now normally you can't hear me. Can you hear me, Chrissy?
I can hear everybody.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So, Chrissy, you were telling us about working for Rod, and no, Rod probably can't hear you, so you don't have to suck up or anything. But tell us about that and the environment that it's obvious that your upper management provides for their officers. I'm wondering if you feel it the same way in dispatch, and maybe a few examples or something. Okay.
Can you hear
Chrissy?
me?
No, we
No.
can't hear you. All right, I think that's our sign, guys. I think that. Well, I just got a note that maybe we should let Chrissy try again. Okay, Chrissy, try again.
Okay.
Oh no, I didn't mean for her to leave. I wanted her to start talking again. Major Taylor, you cannot hear me, or you can hear me.
I can hear you. Yes.
Very good. We've been saying nothing but positive things about the upper management while you've been away. Just so you
Thank
know.
you.
And I got some insights that I might share with you guys later about some of the most beautiful spaces in town that are off roads. That I really don't know why our police officers are taking their motorcycles back there. But that's okay on a show like this. It's all good. Chrissy, okay, one more time.
Okay.
Jump in there.
I can hear y'all. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
A couple of the things that I just would like to share about our administration now, they are supportive. There are days that I go in there, and if they can just let me say what's on my mind and just get it off my chest, they probably think that I'm crazy after I leave. That's okay. I feel better getting it out. But they are willing to listen. They're willing to learn about the different things that we do. We have a chief and an assistant chief who come in and check on us. That wasn't a regular thing before, but now all the dispatchers know who the chief is. Where, years before, they wouldn't know until they've been here some time. But one of the things I appreciate too is they're willing to let us do things. They trust us to do things and to manage things to help bring us up into the 21st century, and so that we can be better and make our department better, to retain employees and grow, try new things. And that's one of the things that I really appreciate. I'm not held back. I'm able to push my people, and that's part of the reason they're where they are today. People know them across the state in the dispatch profession, and they're doing the best that they can, and they want to do the best they can because they know that they've got administration that supports them.
Well, I can certainly tell that. And Rich, I would not have said that about motorcycles traipsing all around our town unless I was very confident that it was all in good fun, because the way in which you've even shared it is that it seems like it's just a family environment. You know, you guys are you're really having a good time at work, and that's what we want to do in the workplace, I would think. So in all fairness, hey, Corporal Ryder, I've had those guys ask you questions, and I've asked you a ton of questions. Do you have any questions that you might want to shoot one of our ways that we've got to answer for you?
Chrissy, what is I know we do a lot of things to irritate you guys, because we're out there, we're dealing with it, we see it, and you guys are just going off what we say. So what is or dispatch in general, their biggest pet peeve that we do? I know there's a lot of them, but like, what's the main biggest pet peeve that we do?
I can't hear anything that he's saying.
I can't hear.
I love
must have
it.
been
That's
good.
Like
perfect.
you had a good time.
Well, there you go.
I'm glad you had a good time at our expense.
Oh, well.
He answered it. That means
One
we
of the
don't do
things about
anything.
this,
Just their
you know,
pet
you
peeve.
said that it is a family environment, and we do like to have fun. We deal with so many bad things. People aren't calling 911 because they're having a great day. It's usually because it's the worst day of their life. And all of us, when you get that call, whether it's me or Rich or Major Taylor, one of us or all of us are involved in some way, and that's our coping mechanism. We have to see the positive and move forward. That's what keeps bringing us back every day.
I love that. And there's no better way to end today's podcast that way, Chrissy, with words of wisdom, but also just the heart that we want to show our community about our City of Five Nations police officers, which we want to invite you to become a part of, right, Rod? That's what this is all about.
Absolutely. Come join us.
Yes.
Man of many words. Thanks, Rod. Corporal Taylor, thank you for taking your time today to be with us. I've certainly enjoyed getting to know you better, and I look forward to seeing you out on the streets or at the department sometime when we're all visiting. Thank you. Chrissy, have a great day. You're always beautiful. We'll see you soon.
You too.
Rod, see you later, man. Tomorrow, we've got another one, right? Tell me who's coming on tomorrow. Who is it?
Yes. It's Officer Sylvia Jerdinska.
Very nice. I'll practice that before he comes on. All right.
So will I.
All right. See you guys. Thank you very much for your time. You've been watching We Are City of Five Nations podcast. This is Police Positive, fulfilling your dreams. All of us grow up as youth thinking, wow, wouldn't it be cool to be a police officer? Well, it would be cool to be a police officer, and the opportunities before you now here in our City of Five Nations. It's a family environment at the department, and man, how fun it's been so far just getting to know our police officers a little bit better. Tomorrow, we're going to have another one. Chrissy and Rod will be with us as always, and I thank them both for their hearts to serve our community and to serve those that work under them. Those are another two fabulous leaders in our community. Thank you again for watching. We'll be back tomorrow about the same time. And as always, in the City of Five Nations, remember, together, we're building community one season at a time. See you tomorrow, everybody. Have a great day.